All right, I think we're going to go ahead and get started here so we're not short on time. Thank you guys for coming. Um, so this is track one, Living with a Life-Altering Condition, sponsored by Horizon Pharma. I am Sydney Gardner, and I will be your host for today's session at the summit. As a reminder, this track is being live streamed, and I would like to welcome everyone on our remote attendees, and a reminder to download the mobile app to highlight some features such as Q&A. This breakout session will be presented by Amanda and John Miller, co-founders of Network Thyrosinema Advocates, Lucy Wong, artist and scleroderma patient advocate, and Laura Fonseca, clinical director and music therapist at Millie Music. Today, they will be going over different modern therapies and help address emotional health and coping for patients and families during our session. Modern therapies for emotional health, different ways to cope. So please join me in welcoming them here today.
Thank you very much. I'm good. Okay. Thank you, everybody. I'm John Miller. This is my wife, Amanda. And we are the founders of the Network of Thyrosinema Advocates. And what that is our child, Evan, has a very rare metabolic disorder called tyrosinemia. It affects 1 in 100,000 births. And I'm going to spare you guys all the pictures of sick children and all that stuff and the history of how it formed, because the way this is dividing, we each only get about 15 minutes. So we're going to move kind of quick, okay? But the short version of this is that when Evan was born, it was a very scary time for us because he was misdiagnosed on the newborn screening, as most of the children with tyrosinemia are, and he almost died. When we went to do the research to find out, well, what is tyrosinemia, all we found were medical journals showing, pictures that you didn't want to see and words you didn't understand. What we found were that we were the only people that we knew of with tyrosinemia. The hospitals have compliance issues. They have non-disclosures. They were not going to tell us who anybody else in the world was with tyrosinemia. That's their business. That's their privacy. So like every advocate in this room, we had to find them on our own. So through social media and different sources, we found a couple patients, and we made friends, and we found that their struggles were exactly the same as ours. And as much as they need medicine, they need medical food, they need all the treatment that these children need, most importantly, the children and the parents and the brothers and sisters and the grandparents all needed to know that they were not the only ones in the world with this disorder. There's only about 1,500 patients in the world and about 175 in the country. But you may as well have been the only person on Mars. That's the way you feel, right? So our goal with NOTA is to bring these families together and, of course, fix some of the problems with tyrosinemia. How do I make this? There we go. So some of our goals for NOTA is ensuring that no child or individual goes untreated. We want to make sure that the medication and all the formulas are available worldwide. Sometimes we're really good at that. Sometimes we're still working on that. Providing families affected the resources available to them. Letting them know that global genes exist. What's global genes? What's NOTA? I've never heard of these things. Well, you can have resources. Connecting multiple organizations worldwide to build a strong community. Did you guys know there was a small organization for tyrosinemia in Russia? I do now, but I didn't before. And they're all under our umbrella. We're all friends now. Supporting every parent. You are not alone in this struggle, and you have the support you need at critical times. Sometimes it's just a matter of, I get a phone call one time of a new father, and he calls me up and he says, "Do you have a minute?" And I said, "Yeah, it's nice to meet you. How can I help you? What's up?" And he says, "I just want to know, why me?" And he starts crying, and he just goes off the deep end. I was there for him, and I brought him back, and he's now one of my best friends. I just wish that when Evan was born, somebody was there for me and Amanda because we were so alone with that.
And to add to that too, like the newborn screening, Evan wasn't picked up. Some of these new babies are picked up. So parents, you know, it's 24 hours later. It's devastating. You have a sick child. In our case, Evan was dying. We said goodbye. And now we got a diagnosis and there's a treatment for it. There's no cure, but there's a treatment. So even like in tyrosinemia, the situations are so different that, you know, everybody's story is so different.
Right. Yeah. As times go on and technology improves, most of these children are being picked up, but there's still a huge void in the newborn screening program. There's still a lot that are getting missed, and it's a huge fight for us. So while that's not why we're here, I do want to bring awareness to it. I always have to speak about it because lives matter, and these little children don't deserve the mistreatment. So that brings us to this: striving for perfect newborn screening in an effort to never miss another child's diagnosis. In gathering stories from families, resources, recipes, because it's a low protein. We follow like a PKU diet. The children cannot process protein. That's the short version of this. So the statistics really quick: 1 in 100,000 births, 175 patients in the U.S., and approximately 1,500 patients worldwide. And I've already said this, most families have never met another living soul with tyrosinemia. And it is a fatal disease without treatment. There's nobody alive living with tyrosinemia older than the medication. You either had to get a liver transplant or you died. And that was after they clinically diagnosed the child who was already in liver failure and most likely at the time kidney failure and other problems and needed a liver transplant when it was 3 months old. So you can imagine the odds of survival. We do have a couple champions, but they are few, way too few for their age. So, and this is the newborn screening issues that we have as of 2015. Everything in yellow is good. Everything in gray is bad. Those states, as of 2015, are not in compliance with the NIH's mandated newborn screening. What do you call it? Their mandate for newborn screening for tyrosinemia. So that's an issue we're still working on today, and I wish I could tell you that was perfect, but not yet.
And that's our state, New Jersey.
Yeah, we were from New Jersey. You follow my little shadow there. So, yeah, we were lucky us, right? So this is just some conclusions on newborn screening. The slides are available. You guys can read this. We're short on time. I want to go right to the good stuff here. So, basically, what we've learned in the last 9 years, I want to pass on to you guys. Is there anybody here that does not have a nonprofit and is thinking about starting one for their particular disorder? Okay, good. I got one. That's all I need. 2. Great. So the one thing I want to share to you guys in particular is form one, make one, because I spent 5 years trying to advocate, trying to do things, trying to talk to industry, trying to talk to the government, trying to talk to the hospitals. And you know what? You're a parent at that point, and they won't talk to you. When you're an advocate, doors open up. Yeah, there's a lot of restrictions with a nonprofit, but you're also now able to speak to industry. Industry can reach out to you because you're not a parent anymore. You are now an advocate. So the number one best advice I can give anybody is make a nonprofit. Do the legwork for that because it really will come back to help you. Make a website. Make sure it's got search engine optimization. That's how we can't find tyrosinemia people. They had to find us. Make sure you have a Facebook page and a group, all those things. In-person networking. Show up at Rare Disease Day in your state capital every last day of February. If you can make it, go to Washington, because guess what? There's going to be other people out there who may know somebody who may have something related to what you have. Go to, of course, Global Genes conferences. We got to throw the plug out there, right? In our case, PKU events, because we met children when PKU events, we had met one or other family with tyrosinemia, another family with maple syrup urine disease. All these low protein things kind of will gel. So if there's something that makes sense to your particular disorder, find out other groups that are like you and try to piggyback off of them. That's a great starting point, okay? So I'm proud to say that of the 1,500 patients in the world, we represent about 300 of them. We've successfully lobbied to get some newborn screening reforms, successfully lobbied to get treatment for patients in various countries, and we've established a network for patients and caregivers to communicate. Most importantly, though, these patients are still alone. The parents are still alone. We didn't solve any of that, right? They can talk on Facebook. They have each other's phone numbers. They can email. They can share pictures. But it doesn't make them actually meet each other. And in my opinion, that is the best therapy you can give. So we created the NOTA experience with a partnership with Victory Junction Camp in North Carolina. Has anybody ever heard of Victory Junction? Well, I'm going to fill you in. So Victory Junction was formed by, it's a NASCAR-themed summer camp. It was the brainchild of Adam Petty, who is Richard Petty's grandson. He's Richard Petty's number 43. We all know that, right? Kyle Petty's number 44. Adam Petty was number 45. He had visited a camp and when he was 18 years old and said it was his dream to open up a medically capable special needs camp. Unfortunately, he hit a wall in a NASCAR race and a practice lap, and he died at 19 years old. So everybody in NASCAR, and you all know what NASCAR money is, everybody made Victory Junction. So I'll let Amanda talk about what that is.
So camp for kids with special needs, like John had said, we started there. You want to go or you want to?
Oh, I'm sorry.
There's no,
I'm sorry.
it's just a logo,
So yeah, we just have. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was checking the time. Yeah, sorry.
But yeah, they basically, you talk and you do a whole weekend. We got there Friday about 5:30. They had a dinner for us. Low protein buffet in our case was set up for all the kids. And the oldest one, how was Imran the oldest?
Imran was the oldest. We had a 25-year-old patient there, and we had
5 minutes.
a little baby. So we have full spread of ages and demographics.
Yeah. So and they had set up our schedule for us. So when we got there, everyone was given a schedule. That was low protein cookie.
There was a cookie
decorating
craft.
thing.
Yep.
So they were doing icing and cookies and toppings. Archery was set up. That's John. That's my son Evan over there with tyrosine. That's our daughter Alice, but she does not have it. And they had dance parties at night. You'd have breakfast there. They get up as soon as you're done breakfast full. They make you dance.
Yeah, it was a dance party after breakfast.
Every
at
meal.
7 o'clock in the morning.
You get up and dance. Horseback riding. We had a talent show. No matter, this was a weekend. Everyone was the same. This is the first time a lot of these tyrosine kids got to meet each other. Someone else with tyrosine. No one felt left out. They did corny stuff at the talent show. No one laughed. They had a great time. Yep. We did lots of archery. That's the dancing.
Pony rides.
Yeah.
I mean, you name it. This place had it for us, and they were phenomenal. But I will tell you, if you want to see a powerful moment, I don't have a slide of it, but I got video of 4 little girls with tyrosine all singing the fight song in the talent show, and I mean, just amazing.
And the camp they have volunteers that come in, and every family is assigned a volunteer that sticks with you for the whole weekend. They get you to where you need to be, and they're not supposed to, they're not your child's caregiver, but our volunteer, Emily, she was about 25, and whatever my little redheaded 3-year-old asked for, she did. She danced with her, she did corny stuff with her, she did literally anything. We went on boat rides, kayaks, canoes, paddle boats. I went out with my son. He made me paddle the whole way. I came back, I was hot, I was tired, it was super hot. The other volunteer, Mike, my son wanted to go out in the flame kayak number 45, and I was like, Evan, I just can't, and Mike jumped right in, and they don't, no matter how tired or hot they are, they're there for the kids. They want to make sure you had a great experience.
Yeah. And the one thing that we did that was different about this is that there was not a conference. There was no slideshows, there was no tables, there was no sponsors. We had volunteers from the sponsors. If you sponsored our event, you got the opportunity to volunteer. And this event was presented by Sobe. And we had, people from Sobe were there acting as volunteers, doing like what Amanda said, helping little kids get on pony rides. That's the extent of the selling that you're going to do. There's no selling. It's not about that. This is straight up about giving back. And it was an unbelievable success. So
Another awesome thing down here, you see the golf carts. When you checked in, they put your family on a golf cart to bring you to your cabin, and all the volunteers are outside clapping for you like you're a star. And so you're coming down in the whole, everyone's clapping for you. But, for the kids, it's great. They never got to experience this.
The families, everybody had, this just happened last week, actually. We came home from North Carolina and literally just got on a plane and came to LA. So this is very short. That's why our slides are a little bit haphazardly. I don't know what happened there. But,
that one.
but it's just because we're moving very fast. So
these kids got to feel normal. They got to go up to a buffet and literally take whatever food they wanted, whereas in reality at home, they don't get to do that. They're told no on a lot of things. And everyone's case is different. A 10-year-old child might be allowed 4 grams, and another 10-year-old might be allowed 25 grams of protein. So, that 25-gram child could eat like a normal piece of bread, whereas the other child will not be. So everyone's case is different. Even though they all have tyrosinemia, 2 cases are not exactly the same.
Right. So we're short on time. We're gonna wrap it up. But the whole point of this is to hopefully inspire you guys. I don't know what your organizations are. I don't know what your conditions are. I don't know what your level of support is. But if you want, in our opinion, the best therapy for these families, it's emotional, it's in their heads, because if they got their heads on right, then they can take care of their children and do everything they need. So this could be you. Whoops, excuse me. Thank you. We'll take questions at the end. We're going to let everybody go, and then there'll be questions at one time at the end. Okay. Do you want to introduce her? Advance it to the next one.
I don't know if I have slides.
Oh,
Oh, I'm Lucy Wong.
Slides. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, I'm Lucy Wong. Did you want to introduce me?
I mean, I kind of did, but so again, this is Lucy Wong. She is an artist, so she's got some cool things to show to you guys today.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thanks to everybody for coming. My name is Lucy, as in I love Lucy, and I have a dark secret. I really love Chinese food. But I have an advantage. I can do it at my house where you have to all pay the big bucks. I have another dark secret. I have lived very much alone. But no one feels sorry for me, because sometimes when I talk, people start crying. They come up to me, but don't feel sorry for me. I've had to live alone for like 30 years with people that did not understand me, because my dark secret that I have is that I've had scleroderma, plus positive for lupus. I was in denial. I was like, I wish it wasn't true. But I saw the blood work, and positive for the Sjogren. So Sjogren is a hard one to pronounce. And there was a few people here that said they had had it. And at my hotel, it was flaring up. And I know that, just for your information, for Sjogren, it will be around here, you get like rash-like, and sometimes here. And the reasoning is because the salivary glands are close there. That's one of the visual signs. But a lot of the things I go through are also very invisible. So people look like, you're fine. And I'm not, and they don't get it. So I feel like I've lived alone, even till recent times. But I've gotten involved with the Scleroderma Foundation. I was in touch with the CEO, Robert Riggs, and he was pretty amazed at my artwork, doing it in the dark when you did the silhouette. And also, I have another dark secret, of course, that I use art as my therapy. And my secret goal for everyone is that you use it for your therapy, even as a spectator or just practicing. Okay, Lucy, don't trip. And I use art therapy. It started when I was in the Navy. There was a Navy captain in San Diego, and she was a narcissistic bully, and she made everybody's life very miserable. And I had to do something to cope in that job. It's already high stress already. I loved my job. I loved every job I had, but dealing with people and the politics are a different situation. So one day I said to myself, I don't know where it came from in the universe, you go to the Carlsbad. How many people know where Carlsbad is? It's kind of down the street. I went over there, and I went to the Sears, and I had to get my Kenmore sewing machine. I still have it. And then I would come home with that sewing machine right in front of me, and I would create things, just simple things, a simple purse. And I made this top. I made about 86,000 of these tops, and I would keep it. I would just leave it here somewhere. And I would look at it, and I would be depressed, have high anxiety, post-traumatic, because I'm trying to get that calmed down so it also affects your health if you have autoimmune. You talk about anxiety, post-traumatic, any of those things that are emotional, because they can also hurt your health. So I'm really getting it. I wish I got more of it 30 years ago. That would have been much more help and probably less stress for my life. But I would look at this top. So that was a reminder to me that I wasn't a failure. I took myself to college, and I finished the Navy, and I couldn't understand why I couldn't keep a job. I was always late, and that was a bit of a problem. But most of the people were okay about being late. When you're from California, work in California, they accepted. So that wasn't a big issue, but I would screw up, mess up on jobs because I couldn't do my job, because I would go into a reefer where I had to work in manufacturing. It would be really cold. Plus the Reynolds, I don't know if anybody knows that one, because I was like kind of freaking out over here. I don't know if anybody else, I kind of wore my hands up, and I left my gloves in there. So I was like, okay, I'll just let it rip with everybody here. I'll get warmed up with the camera. But I couldn't keep up, and I would just look at this top. So if you look at this top, I was gonna, if you anybody don't mind, I was just gonna pass it around, and whoever has this top at the end of my talk can take this home. But still pay attention to what I'm saying. I have a secret show to show you, and if the camera people can roll it, it is a video I did at my house. So I created my house in a way where people would have sofas, but the video would come on. So this is my secret video to show the camera person. Retire out and not work. And the disabling part is I can't do the things I used to do. So I have to fill my life up with things that I can do and focus on what I can do. And one of them is art therapy. Take on a quilting project, a pad. It's like a puzzle. When you do a quilting, you're cutting out little cookie dough pieces, and then you have to look at the legend, and it's like putting a puzzle together. I'll start by organizing my mess here. This is a drawing on fabric prepared for dyeing cotton. So I drew these pictures on each one of them. It has made me feel depressed because I can't do the things I used to do. Hyacinth McCall, and I got a ribbon for that one. These are some of my wearables. I can do clothing construction. This is a vest I made with a companion purse to match. And this is a applique phoenix bird I made. And this is just a handbag I made out of a pair of men's slacks. Art therapy is very therapeutic because it is a thing that you can do anytime, whenever you feel like it, whenever you can, whenever you get inspired. Sometimes to get creative, this takes a bit of effort. You have to find things that will inspire you because you can do it anytime. She went to Hawaii, and then I get the aloe vera, and then I mixed it with the ink. So I painted it the color I wanted, and that became our medium. And then I free motion quilted it. I got Best of Showing Stopper Award. Well, this is a t-shirt that I cut apart, and I'm gonna get this adhesive and iron it on so it won't stretch. This is for my friend Charlene when I get it done. She likes that. This is a bra, and I used blue and gold McCall feathers that were molted. You never pull them off a bird. And I hot glued it onto this bra, so I got an award. It was for the breast cancer awareness and fundraiser. And here's another drawing of mine with a dog, and I drew this one. And this is a work in progress. This outline I made is a picture I probably want to paint. It's probably a watercolor. And this is the sketch of my family's Chinese laundry back in the days. We didn't have any pictures, so I'm going to recreate it. My creativity is a strength because it has given me better problem-solving skills mentally, I think emotionally and mentally. All the ribbons I won from my artwork and also writing. Right here. Here's when my Old Glory was in the newspaper. I got second place in the VA Veterans Creative Art Festival in the national level. And here's a picture of my Old Glory. A lot of times people who think about art creativity, they don't have the esteem or confidence. And so they look at look at the voices, whether it's from other people or themselves, look at their inner critic part. Because sometimes that will stop somebody from being creative. Yeah, very competitive. Here's when I got a writing, I can't remember, I think I placed second in the writing contest here. And for people who just want to start off something small project, like a little sewing project, you can make a little sign for yourself like I did up here. And you could put something together, paint it. This has happened to be on fabric. I just did cutouts, like cut and paste. So I cut it and I put that word together, and you could just use a 3M tape and just put it right there and make something simple at home. And then, you know, this is crazy quilting. I took an old placemat someone gave me, and I couldn't stand it. It was so ugly, and I made it real beautiful. And I just did some top stitching, and there you go, 3M tape. I want to make it like anybody could afford to do it. I got the sheet music from the Tempe Library. They were just giving it away. So I grabbed a handful of this sheet, and then I drew my hand a line drawing, and then I did my own coloring book on it. So I don't need to buy a coloring book. I can make my own coloring books. And I colored it with just pencil or markers. Sharpies would be fine. Anything you have, crayons, colored pencils. And then with the nails, I had to get teal color nail, but I just painted it. I'm just squaring the edges. I ironed this fusible, so on this knit fabric that I cut out of a t-shirt, I'm stopping the stretching. I cut some border fabrics to make a border. And I'm just going to fold it like so. I'm not even going to iron it. I'm just going to cut it, because it's not a matter about being worried about being perfect. It's just doing it. And then I use Mud Podge, and then I just sealed it, everything. And then for this border, I just cut a strip of fabric, and just like if I was quilting, I just glued it. I just hot glued this border on it. On the back, if they wanted to be a speaker, I say, heck, go for it. And then they can talk about things that they've done to overcome or how to live well with chronic illness.
Turning different colors as mine are turning a little bit in this air-conditioned room. They wanted to make the birdie vest, not fancy like Stephanie's, just, get the job done. So that
I used to make the simplest little peasant tops, and I remember the time where I just couldn't keep up on any job, and I didn't know why. I was always late to work. I felt like a failure for someone who's went to universities, taken myself to the military. I had a lot of self-doubt, if you can believe it. I create my own coloring book. I don't have to buy anybody's coloring book. I can draw a line drawing, whether it's a hand or a horse, and do all this Zentangle design to it, and that can create my own coloring book that I can color at my own pace, and that can diffuse stress. Whether it's from other people or themselves, look at their inner critic part, because sometimes that will stop somebody from being creative. And just seeing that simple top it just really held me together, really grounded me. So I didn't stress, I didn't get too depressed. Just seeing that, it was a success. I want to talk about a point. Okay, I only have a minute to go. I belong to a quilt guild in Arizona. A lot of people, hundreds. And I did an art piece I drew. And all of a sudden, this crowd, they're all starting to laugh at my artwork. And I was so livid. I was embarrassed. And I would talk to the president who was standing here, and she basically told me to go back to my seat and sit down. And I went home so miserable, you cannot believe. I was like, and so thereafter, I entered that piece into an art contest. And this was the piece, and then I got first place, a ribbon for that. I wasn't trying to show them, but I just wanted to point out that you can overcome that critic. And also, like anybody can do it, my pencils and my little art journal, you can do things in here. And I had this little affirmation book that sometimes I could just read things that are positive in this affirmation book. And in summary, in conclusion, I can't keep up on my artwork. People want it now. It's like, this is the hand that I drew. It's on Facebook with the Ever Life Foundation. So far, I think Facebook is screwing me over, but it's in second place. I think it should have been first, like the Old Glory, but sometimes it didn't happen. But this is, in conclusion, to always find your inspiration. So I'm not lying to you when I tell you the truth. I just started doodling this pan, and then so far it's become this. I don't have the cards with me. They came in the mail yesterday. But in conclusion, always find something to inspire you, whether it's art as your therapy, but be inspired.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing that. Your artwork is absolutely beautiful. Well-deserved first places on a lot of those. Next up, we have Laura.
Hello, everybody. My name is Laura Fonseca, and I'm a board-certified music therapist. Has anybody heard of music therapy in their room? Yeah, has anybody used music therapeutically in their own life? Yeah, I raised my hand for that too. Let me get this little clicker. All right, so music therapy is using music to achieve non-music goals. So the creating music is more of a secondary product to it, and we're focusing on other non-music goals. So let's. To the side. Oh, hit the side. All right. So these are the types of goals that music therapists typically work on: promoting wellness, managing stress, alleviating pain, expressing feelings, enhancing memory, improving communication, and promoting physical rehabilitation. The list goes on, but these are kind of the main ones that the American Music Therapy Association promotes that we generally all are working toward. So, how music becomes therapy. If you've experienced it yourself, there's something about music that you can't always express why it's hitting you a certain way, or why it's helping you express a certain feeling that maybe you didn't know you had, or why it's really supporting you in a time of need. But looking at it from a perspective of a music therapist, we kind of go in this order, using that fact that music is a very human thing. We have a real connection to music. Music's been a part of culture, many cultures forever. But we kind of go on these three things. So first, using ideas of neuroscience, that music is processed in the brain globally, so generally everyone can relate to it in some way. That music is an effective that makes music an effective treatment modality for most people. And then goals, we write goals that are objective and measurable, that are not music-based. So we think about what kind of a goal you might do for physical rehabilitation or for wellness. And then we take the last step of adding music to that. So this is pretty much the process that every music therapist will go through if you ever see one. And then after writing the goals, we add music to the experience to enhance the outcomes. Oh, that's my last one. So, for example, if I'm working on wellness and promoting wellness with someone, I might get an idea of what are someone's favorite songs. So can anyone give me a favorite song? Bon Jovi? Okay, that's an artist. Yeah. Oh, an artist too. Anything. Anything at all. Anyone else? We got Bon Jovi. That's a good one too. Mr. Presley there on that one. The Happy Song by Pharrell? Yeah, that's one. Oh, man. I could tell you I've used that one so many times. I work with ages from birth through end-of-life care. So music therapists work all across the spectrum. And so the people that I see have all sorts of different disorders and things going on. I also see some people that would be considered typical that want to engage in music therapy. And sometimes it's playing an instrument. Has anyone ever here played an instrument? Yeah. And do you have a feeling of accomplishment after kind of learning? And you're like, oh my goodness, I've been working on this song forever, and finally that one note, like I can hit it and I could keep going. If you're a singer, or if you're, I'm a vocalist, a clarinetist, and a percussionist. So for me, it's, oh my gosh, I can finally play this like super crazy rhythm that I heard some awesome Brazilian cajones do, and all of a sudden I'm able to do it too. And it's like, oh, finally. And it's that sense of empowerment in doing that after working and working and working and suffering and suffering and suffering. And then finally, you get that little rhythm going. And that's exactly what life is like too. You've hit your stride. Not everyone hits it at the same time. And it's very different for every person. And so everyone's experience with music is different too. So if we think about Happy by Pharrell, that song obviously has a really positive message. It's super upbeat. So let's say you're not feeling super happy on a particular day. Playing Happy might not make you happy. It might make you annoyed. Has anyone had that experience where you're like, I do not want to hear this right now? And that's an important thing to be aware of and to know and to understand it. And as a music therapist, I know if I'm working with someone and I know usually their disposition is a little bit different, maybe they're having a rough day, I'm not going to be like, let's just change this mood right now. Like, let's go right into Happy. I'll figure out, okay, how are you feeling today? Can we think of a song that expresses that? If I'm working on wellness and overall let's say mental health, for example, I will figure out how they're feeling, and we'll find a song that reflects that mood. We'll start there. maybe we'll slowly build into happy, but we'll start where we're feeling. So maybe it's creating a personal playlist. That's something anyone in here can do. You don't need a music therapist to create a personal playlist. And you can think of, okay, when I'm feeling sad, these songs validate my feelings. These songs make me feel better. These songs make me feel connected. And you can create a playlist of those songs. And maybe through the playlist, you're starting to feel better. You're like, okay, all right, I'm feeling validated. I'm feeling really a little bit better. You can kind of start to transition into maybe a happier song, maybe not go all the way to happy, but you can transition until you get somewhere that's maybe your happy song. And you can move through it that way. We do that a lot as music therapists when working with mental health, particularly with teenagers. Teenagers have really strong bonds to music, and you can really help change someone's mood. And I think that's a really great thing. And mood and emotion is such an important part of who we are, how we interact in the world, how our day goes. I mean, I know myself, I could spill coffee on myself 2 mornings in a row. And if I slept wrong one night before, my whole day is going to be a little bit wonky. And the other day might be like, you know what, not a big deal. I'm just going to change my shirt and like move on with my life. But your mood changes from day to day. You can respond to the same situation in a completely different way from day to day. So sometimes knowing how to use something like music that is very accessible to everyone, you can kind of help yourself get into a better mood or the place that you want to be, or feel, if you want to feel sad, have the time to feel sad and to be okay with feeling sad before you move on. And that's something that we do as music therapists. Additionally, when working with wellness, I do a lot of relaxation with my clients. So if someone comes in and because of their diagnosis, they have some trouble breathing, and the breathing is really shallow and kind of fast like that, I might use a slow song, kind of like mine at the moment. I might use a slow and calming song to kind of help them stabilize their breathing and get them from shallow breathing and high intensity feelings. And sometimes you could see it in people's hands too, and kind of work out of that. Because when you start breathing, you're getting oxygen to the rest of your body, so you can actually relax your body. You're not so tight clenched as some people I work with. That's our whole goal for a 45-minute session, is just to go from a high anxiety, shallow breathing, and difficulty focusing on anything around them to just relaxation, using music for calming, and different music works for different people. I have one person, I have no idea why, but Metallica of all things. They just love Metallica, and it just kind of relaxes them. And I would think for myself that would make me like, oh my gosh, like Metallica. But for them, it's totally this relaxing experience. And that's the great thing about being a music therapist, is kind of learning about different people, what their preferences in music are, how they respond to music, what music they like, what music they don't like. And those are all super important parts of music therapy. And I know it can be really validating, like I said, to learn an instrument. So sometimes we do that. I might teach someone an instrument as a leisure and wellness skill, because it does promote that confidence. It's working through something hard, but it's not necessarily focusing on, now I'm working through something hard. It's just sort of doing it, in the act of doing it, that helps for people to be able to do that in other situations as well. So learning an instrument can translate into other situations as well. There are also the neurologic benefits. Music is processed globally in the brain, so there are all kinds of ways to use music as treatment. For example, sometimes I work with physical goals. I've worked with a number of people who have had stroke and traumatic brain injury, and actually using music to help them learn to walk again, relearn how to walk using rhythm, or using singing to help someone relearn how to speak, which there's some great videos on YouTube. You can Google Gabby Giffords. She did music therapy. She is the senator or congresswoman from Arizona. Some really, really great videos there. Okay, getting close. So that's sort of what music therapists do and how we use music to achieve these non-music goals for wellness. Any other artists out there? I can pull an example. Anyone? Anything from Hamilton. Anyone else have that? Hamilton does it for them. I work with a number of clients that are obsessed with Hamilton. They love it so much. And just finding music that helps you to express how you're feeling. Songwriting can also be a really wonderful thing. If you know how to play an instrument, or even if you don't, you can take a song that you know really well. Let's say something from Hamilton, or something from Happy. I use Happy a lot. I'll say, because I'm blank, and then my client will fill in how they're feeling that day. Maybe they're not feeling happy that day. Maybe they are. Maybe they're feeling another word for happy. And it can be a really beautiful way of self-expression. So that's kind of more of a lyric substitution. So you can do that. You can write your own song. I know that in my life personally, I've used songwriting to help me transition from one thing to another, to feel validated in myself through my own writing rather than another person's writing, but really writing what I'm feeling. And I think not being afraid of your feelings and being able to write them down and express them can be very, very, very therapeutic and very cathartic for people. So yeah, I encourage everyone, if you have questions about music therapy, we're going to take some questions after I sit, I believe. And I'll be kind of around, so if anyone wants to chat with me, I'm super excited to be here, and I love talking about music therapy, so definitely find me.
Thank you all for sharing. We really appreciate that. So we're going to be taking questions now. If you guys have any, just raise your hand and I'll try to come to you with a microphone. We are also taking them on the mobile app as well for you guys at home.
Hi, I think you sort of went over this, but do you find a certain genre of music works best?
The one without the microphone. No, you're fine. I get my steps in today. There you go.
Yeah, it really depends on the person because it's such an individual experience, and music is so subjective that two people have different experiences. So I think it depends on the preference of the person I'm working with. And that's always one of the first questions I have is like, what kind of music do you like? What are you listening to when you feel happy? What are you listening to when you're not feeling so happy? What are your favorite artists? What are your favorite songs? And try to collect that information. And then that's what I use in sessions. So I would say definitely whatever is your preference of music. So there's not like one kind of music.
Hi there. This is for Jonathan and Amanda. A quick question for you. That experience looked amazing, and you mentioned that the sponsors provided volunteers. So how did the funding happen? And as a, it looked awesome, but obviously you have to somehow pay for everybody to get there. So I'd love to hear a little bit more.
Some were the sponsors too, and some were volunteers that just volunteered for that camp. So it wasn't all sponsor volunteers. Some were just from the one guy that was with the family that was next to our cabin, he literally for his birthday every year, that's his birthday present to himself. He drives there from Pittsburgh, PA, and volunteers.
He drives an 8-hour drive just to go and volunteer. That's his thing. So if I can expand on that a little bit, though, because I understand what you're asking, is that, there was about 35 volunteers. And of those 35 volunteers, I would say probably, I don't remember the exact number, so forgive me, but I think we had about a dozen. I think we had about 12 industry volunteers. And it was something that I offered in the sponsorship packet. And it was initially met with some resistance from some of the sponsors. They're like, what do you mean you want us to sponsor and we can't advertise our products? I'm like, well, listen, here's what you can do. You can put your stuff in the goodie bags, that everybody's going to get. Or you can put your name on the t-shirts, we'll put your name on the banners, we'll take care of you, we'll make sure you're represented. But the idea here is that this particular event it's not about selling product. And if we do that, we're going to cheapen our brand. You know, this is completely about giving back to the families. And in the speech I gave to the families when they first arrived, I said, nobody's selling you a timeshare. You know, there's no clinic you have to go to. You don't have to give blood samples. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is just enjoy yourselves. And it was almost unbelievable. Once we got that point across to the sponsors, they were more receiving to it than you would think. They were like, yeah, it actually sounds really cool, because it gives the sponsors an opportunity to really truly show that they care about the patients and the individuals, and that they are putting the patients first and not the dollar. So, like I said, Sobe was our presenting sponsor, and they were absolutely phenomenal. And these issues I'm discussing were not with them. They were all over it. Because the other thing you have to understand is when you're dealing with pharma companies and nonprofits, you have to work together. And there's this little thing that we call compliance that everybody has to adhere to. And so you almost don't want too much industry at an event like that. You don't want, you know, and the companies may not want the tables. They may not want, because it opens them up to vulnerability from their competitors and from, you know, the government and all this stuff. So it wasn't as hard as you think. And believe it or not, that was Victory Junction's idea. We were like, oh yeah, we'll have tables. And they're like, no tables. Excuse me? So it's an interesting hurdle, but it does work. And the model was phenomenal.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is another question for you guys. Can you talk a little bit about, you know, the benefits that your families experienced while they were at this camp? Do you think that was primarily from parents connecting? I'm sure it was a combination of things, but what was the greatest feedback that you got? Was it the connection with other families? Was it doing these activities that were catered to your family and your needs? Like, what was the greatest strength in that way?
I don't know where to begin. Seriously. You know, we had one of the reports was a little girl had never done archery before, and she went to the archery and she boom over there, boom over there, and there was this guy, his name was Larry, and every time somebody got a bullseye, he made everybody do the bullseye dance. And I'm not going to demonstrate it, but trust me, it was hilarious. So this little girl, she had gone, and there was different sessions, just like this. There was a track 1, track 2 kind of a thing. And this little girl went back to this archery thing for like 4 sessions. And she eventually got herself that bullseye. And she got to do the dance, and she got a little medal and all this. And the instructor from the archery actually sent her a letter home to her, you know, like a congratulations letter. And I got feedback from the family that meant so much to them. But there was also families in every corner you went to crying and huddling because, you know, they'd never gotten an opportunity to meet. In fact, I do have an interesting one for you. These 2 moms come up to me, and I'm in the lunchroom, and they come up to me running at me, and I'm like, whoa, what happened? You know, what's wrong? You know, call a nurse, go away. And they showing me their phones. They both got their phones out, and they're like, look at this. And I go, what? And they go, we found each other, and we were talking to each other 3 years ago. And in their Facebook Messenger, they're showing me that they had said, one day we need to meet up. And they're sitting at the lunch table, and they say, oh, you know, give me your number, or whatever they were doing, however and the old message popped up. They had forgotten completely, and they wanted to show me that we had facilitated it. That was really rewarding for us, you know? But I mean, I could go on all day. I mean, the bonds, the friendships, these little girls that went, everything was just phenomenal. There's nothing that I could say other than, I don't know what to say.
We just hope we get more people next year.
Right.
If we do it again.
Right. We had 18 families. The capacity for that particular camp is 32 families. And we did as best as we could, of course. It was our inaugural year, so, you know, people were like, we'll see. And there was also travel things. We also were able to reimburse everybody's travel. Every family got up to $1,000 in travel assistance. So, that, you know, but there was a couple families that still wasn't enough. And also the travel was a reimbursement, not a head. So people had to lay out the money. And that was at the advice of everybody we talked to. If anybody's ever considering that, I would recommend doing it that way, because the last thing you want to do is, you know how hard it is to raise money. If you give American Airlines $1,500 for flights for a family and they cancel last minute, now you got a problem. And that money's too hard to get. So it's always better to do a reimbursement.
All right. Do we have any more questions? I think we might have time for one more. There you go.
Hello, this is for Lucy. I wanted to ask you, how did you find out that art therapy was appropriate or correct for you in helping you heal from your diseases? Okay.
Yeah, I think that is a very interesting question. I don't need a mic. That is a very interesting question. At 30 years ago, there was really no support, like I had said. Nothing. I was like alone, even till current time. So I had to figure out something, problem solving, what was going to work with me to keep me glued from falling apart, from becoming that freakazoid, #1 freakazoid queen. Because you freak out. And I'm quite safe person, stable. But that was the reasoning, because 30 years ago, you have to think back, with scleroderma, they don't know what they know now. There's more known, but there's still more research that needs to be done with probably just about any disease. And so I had to bridge something with myself. There was a talk yesterday where the moms said, yeah, you got to find your people. Well, there was nobody back then. You're welcome.
If I may add one thing, the Beatles.
The Beatles.
I use Beatles probably every day. Baby Shark.
You must be intelligent.
Baby Shark, John.
Huh?
Baby Shark.
Baby Shark. We all do Baby Shark? Who doesn't know Baby Shark? Come on.
Every day, Baby Shark. Every day, the Beatles.
Well, thank you guys. These are really great opinions and insights to share with everyone. At this time, I'd like to invite you to jump onto the mobile app and take a brief survey about this session so we can collect some feedback. And after this session, if you'd like to join us for a networking lunch sponsored by IANIS, and then come back for our final session of the summit at 2 p.m., that would be great. But let's give our speakers one last round of applause. Thank you.